Hey Eileen, alright, so here's your past life spread. So, what we're going to do is look at where you were and what you did with the majority of your time there. And then here we have a first important day with the relationships and feelings involved. And then another important day with the relationships and feelings involved. We have the death card over here and the lesson learned. And we'll get hints of time throughout. So all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that are already coming through, and your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what's coming through here in your current life, and I'll try to help however I can. So just keep in mind there's a couple of ways to make connections, direct and opposite. Direct is if you connect with what directly comes through, versus opposite where it's like we see the soul wanting to experience something very different. So sometimes, like for example, if we see someone die of smoking, they might come back and be allergic to smoke or can't stand smoke, right? Just the opposite effect. So keep that in mind as we go through this, and remember that you have to connect and resonate, and if you don't, that's fine. Just tuck it in the back of your mind for a later time because things come up in weeks, months, year later kind of thing, all right? Okay, so let's start. So what's first coming through is that this feels like a female aspect, and it also feels like we're kind of like coming down in her youth. I'm not gonna say we're coming down at around age, I want to say maybe 9, 10, 11. Okay. And there's something distinct about her that I see that there's something where like the image of this young girl is wearing a long white garb that feels like it's indicative of virgin energy. So we're going to get into this and kind of explore that a bit. But the virgin energy, it can mean like if you can connect with that in ways such as the theme of innocence in your life is what this feels like. It feels like, well, let's get into it. This is very interesting. So right, so here where we're going, this is the Americas card. The Americas card can mean North America, Central, or South America. And immediately it feels like we're being pulled to South America, but specifically there is something like a volcano nearby, or it could be a pyramid, but we'll go with a natural landscape, which if it would be anything, it'd be a volcano. And it's something that like this structure plays a role in the people's belief system. So right away, how you can be connecting with that would be if you've ever been pulled to go to South America. I want to say this, if you were looking at South America, this place is like, look, like cut South America into 3 parts. This feels like it would be on the west and on the southern part of the central part. So if you took South America, right, and you just chop and cut into 3 places, you know, so there's north, central, and south, we'll say. It's in the central area, but it's west and a bit south of that is what this feels like. Or so what you might want to do is look for any kind of volcano or pyramid structure that is on the west coast in the South American continent. West, central west. That's where you want to look and see if there's like a volcano or something there, or if not, then one of those pyramids or something there. And okay, so if you've ever been pulled to South America, if you've ever been pulled specifically even to that area, if you go and look at a map and see what country or countries are over there, and if you've ever been pulled to visit by the culture, the language, the cuisine, if you've seen photos and you feel a pull in a way, like an emotional pull or comfort or familiarity or anything like that, just like, oh, I really want to go there, I really want to like walk that land, like that kind of thing. Another connection would be if you are fond of volcanoes. I don't know how else to put it, but if you're fond of them as a natural landscape, you find them beautiful or fascinating or intriguing or anything volcanic. It can also be volcanic rock or stones that are made by volcanic rock, you know, like cooled lava. So if you've ever been pulled to, even on an artistic or aesthetic level, lava, volcanic rock, how in whatever forms it may come in. Okay, so let's see, connect with that. Okay, so we're looking at what it really just feels like we're going like right into like a large indigenous tribe or community. I don't know, like sometimes I don't like to say tribe, but it's like a community, because when I say tribe I feel like it like means like primitive, and they're not primitive. Like they're just, you know, they have their own culture. So we're looking at a community of indigenous people, and it feels like they're connected with the mountain, and it feels like there is something very, like, the land itself has, like, an energy on it. It's almost like, I can't really put it, but it feels like these people are connected with the land. Let's put it that way. What I feel like I'm feeling is that they are constantly aware and understanding of the land itself being an energy or entity, and I feel like it has to do with the volcano. Almost like maybe their ancestors or something like that. You know what it is? It's like when, you know, that story of like, was it Moses going up the mountain and coming down with the tablets? It feels like that. It's like these people tell tales, and one of the tales of their ancestors or their people, or it's almost like when our people were founded, it started on top of the volcano. Like, almost like they came, like our ancestors came from the top of the volcano or the pyramid, or like they came there and walked down and created our community. Like there's something about that. So we're talking about like ancient tales. Like, so that could be a connection in itself, that you might be someone that loves folk tales or origin stories. If you find yourself pulled to stories that are in that format, that it like having to do with the origin of a people, the origin of a culture or civilization, if that's intriguing to you. Also folktales though. If you like, and if you do like folktales, it's funny I say that because what's coming to mind is this book called The Woman Who Runs with Wolves. If you vibe with folktales, this might be a message for you to get that book and check it out. But that's, of course, only if you connect. Let's see. And you can connect in ways like, oh yeah, when I was a child, I really enjoyed, you know, Mother Goose or the Grimm Tales or whatever it was, even though, yeah, it's like, well, what kid didn't read those cool stories or weren't read lullaby, or, you know what I mean? Like, I know we all have that, a lot of us have that in common. I can't speak today. But specifically that, you know, if that was you, that's a connection. That's a connection. And if not, that's totally fine. If not, I do want to say that because these folktales, there is a magical realism to it, a magical element, this would be a message to make sure that you are incorporating the magic or magical elements of life into your life. It's almost like an enhancement. In the case that you might find yourself bored or feel like if you feel like you're stuck in any way, yeah, like not in limbo, but maybe in limbo, but like kind of stagnant. If you feel like you're stagnant, try to weave in magical elements utilizing your imagination, even if you feel silly. It will make things much more interesting and enhance things, and then it will also open up the gates of creativity. So this might be coming up just in the case that you feel stagnant with your creativity and there's no flow going on right now. That would be a little bit of a formula for you, as well as possibly reading, but reading books that you like, reading books that you like, even if the books are children's books, and not even, but actually to reread favorite books, that kind of thing. What's coming to mind as far as magical realism and weaving it through your life in a like a, I want to say like a useful way. The books, I don't know why books are coming up. Maybe you're a reader, but there are books by Roald Dahl. I don't know if you've heard of Roald Dahl. He's an author, but he writes kid stories of magical realism, and it's the energy of his work feels like the energy that's here, and also for you in the case that it feels like magic or creativity or flow is lacking in your life. And so this might be now, but this is also a good formula in case, like, if you're there and you're just like, no, I got flow, I got creativity, I'm good, that's good. Just keep this in mind. If it comes up in the future that you might need to get back in the flow and feel stagnant. So that's what I mean. Like, if you don't connect, that's good. Just put it in the back of your mind for a later time. Definitely. Okay, so keep making connections where you can with this. This also speaks of a community. So how do you connect to a community? How do you connect? Do you want to be part of a community? Were you born into a community where neighbors know each other and everyone goes to church and everyone does, or temple or whatever? They do their thing together. You're just always surrounded by people. That would be a direct connection. The opposite connection is if your soul decided to be born into a family that is where there's abandonment or neglect or fragmenting, or where you're maybe even moving when you were younger, like, so you never really established any kind of, relationships with neighbors or friends, like that kind of thing. So that's just something else you might connect to. So keep making connections, and we're going to go to the next important, the occupation, sorry. So the occupation here is what you do with the majority of your time, because it doesn't feel like we're looking at like jobs, just we're looking at like roles. And it feels like everybody is helpful. See, I just had a reading. The last reading is about roles in a community and everyone working around each other. Now, the difference is that community seemed more like a little more peaceable than this. I'm not saying these people are violent, but there's something about this that feels very like, because of the ancestors we're talking about, or even like dare I say, the gods, like that kind of thing. It feels like we're actually looking at one of those communities that might sacrifice people or things to the gods, that kind of thing. So as I say that, if you can connect with that, if you find stories like that to be interesting, cultures like that to be interesting, if you enjoy reading about that, and like, there's nothing wrong with that, reading about sacrifice, like it is interesting, it's intriguing that cultures do that. So if you ever find yourself drawn to movies or books like that, it feels like we're looking at a society that might be into that. Okay, so the occupation card is the food card. Okay, so speaking of sacrifice, and now I feel like we're looking at that girl in the white dress, I think we are actually looking at your aspect here is one of, it feels like something about being selected to be a sacrifice. I have had one other reading similar to this. I think we're looking at you being selected, you having been selected as like a virgin sacrifice kind of thing to this volcanic god. It'd be really cool if you can Google and see about the belief system in South America regarding volcanic gods or pyramid gods, keywords kind of thing. Like, look it up and see what you can find about this. So the food card comes because I feel like it's almost representative of your role to take up at the right time, because you are in effect like food for the gods is what it, this is really interesting. Food for the gods, we're going with it. That's what it feels like your title is essentially. And I feel like in whatever language this is, it would translate into food for the gods, like your name or the role that you play. And I don't feel like you're alone. I feel like there are, like, every year someone's, more than one, people, girls, are picked for this. So go ahead and see what you can research about this. Is very interesting. I'm just trying to feel out. I feel like what they try to do is hype it up into being an honor. And I feel like some of the girls buy it. And they're like, yes, it is a great honor. And then I feel like there are others that kind of are like, oh, hell no. But they have to do it anyway. So, this is interesting. Okay. For the gods. Okay. So how you might connect with this, for example, would be if in your life you kind of were born into a family where you were given a role, like the good daughter, the good sister, the good girlfriend, the good, like if you find yourself thematically kind of stepping into these roles where you are, the label is kind of like good, like trying to fit into a role, trying to fit into what I want to say, what the people expect you to fit into based on consistency kind of thing. So that would be a connection. But then again, this could be coming up if you find yourself in a time of your life where you might feel off or like not happy or wondering what else is out there, what I should do kind of thing. I would say if you connect with that, the first thing to do is actually look inside and like figure out who you want to be before looking outside, if that makes sense. Like, what about you is not representative of what you want? Like, looking at how you define certain things in your life, looking at how you define success, how you define happy, what you define to look like the perfect life, you know, like what's good on black and white on paper versus what do you feel inside. So it's really, you're looking for a dissonance within you between what you've always known or how you've always behaved, like a pattern, versus that doesn't feel very right. There's something about that just doesn't sit right. You know, like start looking at these various parts of yourself. Because here it feels like it didn't sit right. Like a radar, she had a good radar, but everyone in this community has roles and it's not like she can run away. So this might also indicate in your current life if you find that independence is very important to you and also freedom of movement and mobility. So we were talking about a community before, finding yourself born into a community, but it could be opposite where you're like, or you could have been born to it, like, you know, part of a community for a while, but like at this point it's like, have you gotten to a place or have you ever been, or tuck in the back of your mind if not, but we're talking about wanting freedom, wanting independence, wanting to get out there, wanting to move about. Maybe you don't want to settle down yet. Maybe it's almost like anything where there's like settling down and being tied to a place. So like if you're someone that, I mean, I don't know if you have kids, but if you're someone that doesn't want kids, that's the feel of this. It's like, well, I want to, even though I'm expected to have kids by a certain age and a mortgage and this and that, I just want to like live in a van and travel around, like that kind of thing. So where does that tie in and where do you connect with that idea? Okay, what else were we talking about? The food card. Because this we are looking at like the epitome of good girl. The sacrificial girls, they're like kept pristine. There's something about them that's like even like clean, you know, like really clean, like cleaner than everyone else. And even their food is like cleaned. So whatever they put inside is cleaned. So what is cleanliness? The role of cleanliness, how does that play in your life? Do you like to be kind of messy? You know, do you notice like maybe you don't shower for a week? You know, like, oh, maybe I'll just wear the same clothes, you know, for a couple days. Like that kind of thing would be the opposite connection where you want to express your freedom and you don't want to be so clean, we'll say. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. On the other hand, you could be someone who has like rigid cleaning routines and you don't know why. You might have like even like to the point of OCD and you don't know why. And that would come back to this because it was tied into like the very core belief system, religion of this place for this aspect. So keep that in mind. And we're going to go to the first important day here. So this is the trauma card. The trauma card is linked with friends. And this is the horror card. And I'll tell you, you know, what we're doing is you're getting a glimpse at your future. And you are seeing another one of your kind, we could say, one of the girls saying goodbye. It's her time. And I don't think that any of the other girls actually get to witness what goes on. But you're aware, and you are aware that this is the last time you're going to see your friend alive, or at all. So this is a very traumatizing, very, very traumatizing thing that feels like it numbs you. So you were aware that this was going to happen, but it hadn't happened yet where someone beloved to you was taken from you. Because it's like not all the girls, but a lot of the girls know each other, but they're not friends. But it feels like this is your friend. You know, like there are just few bonds that are made, especially with this role where they kind of teach you detachment. They kind of teach you, like, it's almost like, I want to say they almost like make it so you don't have close attachments or close relationships with people because you won't be there for the long haul. So this is really traumatizing. This is your friend, last time you see her. I feel like this friend would be someone that would come into your current life now if you have a best friend, like a sister almost. It could be a sister, but it would be the feeling that you would be, I want to say, overprotective. of her, or and vice versa. There would be a protective energy about it, and there would be almost like wanting to, like, I want to say, live the relationship to its fullest, almost like a fear of losing her. It could be him too. It could be a guy friend. It doesn't, genders don't matter, but it's the energy is not wanting to lose them, wanting to hold on to them, being protective, even being worried for them, or worried over them when there's no reason for it. People, and this kind of feeling also, this could even be someone who could end up being a lover, quite frankly, because it's almost like, where have you been? It's been so long. I missed you. This was quite traumatizing. So it's weird because it feels very emotional, and at the same time, there's a cutoff because it feels like this is the day where you numb out. Like you check out. You check out here when she's gone. Boom. So if you might connect in certain ways, like if you find that you go numb quickly to cut off your feelings if someone's going to hurt you in the way of even if it's like someone you love and they're visiting and then it's time for them to go back home, do you withdraw? You know what I mean? Do you cut your feelings off? Do you make it so you're not crying to see them go, but if you didn't cut off your feelings, you would be bawling, like that kind of thing. So do you put walls up? That kind of thing is what we're looking at. We're looking at emotional walls, emotional numbing. When it comes to, again, someone, like, what's also coming through is the idea of, like, someone at the end of their life, it's like, there might be a kind of a checkout where you're like, it's because it's overwhelming. It's like it's overwhelming, overbearing almost, like the emotion, and it connects to this. Now, the opposite would be if you came into this life and you're just one big goopy heart feeling everything that you didn't get to feel in this life because there is a cutoff. So, I mean, yes, you felt love for your friend, and there was a love with you and your parents, but it's like the parents even did not full force love you because they knew that they would have to lose you. So rather, they kind of like looked upon you as your role versus their child. So this can also actually speak to a connection that you may have with your parents. So did you come in and choose parents that would love you and adore you and show so much affection and give you all that? Or did you, again, come back and choose parents that would, there would be neglect or abandonment or an emotional wall again, kind of thing. So just, see where you connect with that. And if not, that's totally fine. But just see where you connect with that. Let's see. So if you do connect with the idea of like cutting off emotion or putting a wall up, this would be a message only to say to just be aware of when there are healthy and unhealthy boundaries. Honestly, these themes that I'm talking about, they just came through like another reading today. Like, this is really interesting. But we're looking at just being aware of where not all boundaries are healthy. And, usually I'm talking about you need healthy boundaries, but like not all boundaries are healthy when you are when you're putting up boundaries against your own emotions. They're there for a reason. They're there to help. They're there to help navigate. And like letting your emotions flow, even if it feels icky, it's allowing flow. And if you are feeling stagnant in the energy that we were talking about before, feeling your emotions might actually help with that flow that we were talking about before and the alignment. Because you really cannot be fully aligned with yourself if you are not aware of every emotion that you possess, that you can feel. You know what I mean? Or if you're not open to it, I should say. So just be open to that if you can, if it's not too uncomfortable. But also maintain healthy boundaries. So, alright. Okay, so the next important day here we have the Conquered, They Have Come, and Welcome card. Got this in another reading recently too. This card, it comes through when there are usually like newcomers, and they're either allies or enemies, right? Like they're feeling them out. The relationship here is the family card. Alright, family card. And then we have the feeling card. It's the I Can Do It card, the confidence card. Okay. So, this feels like... Okay, so this feels like something happens where there are outsiders coming in, obviously, I just said that, but let's see what's going on. Okay, with the outside coming. Okay, so it feels like we are looking at like a neighboring community kind of thing, and this is not unusual. It feels like they are coming in to assess the marriageable girls, if they had marriage back then kind of thing, but you know, like to come into union, like it's almost like they're trading young people to get, you know, come in and get married and family and all that kind of thing. Almost like arranged marriages, we could say. And I feel like one of them, like, they stumble upon you, so to speak. And here's the thing is, this aspect of you is very beautiful, and that's part of the reason why you were chosen. And they know that these girls are off limits. However, there is something in the eye that catches one of them, or whoever the selector is, where they go into negotiations for you. And for the first time, they want to like negotiate getting one of those special girls to come with them and to like come be a bride or whatever it might be. And it feels like there is with the okay, so the family card is because this is an opportunity for you for your destiny to change, and where you can actually for the first time almost like imagine like what it would be like to have your own family, where you've never imagined that before. I feel like this is coming through also as like a message it's like a message, like they want to say something like, you don't even know what you don't even know is coming for you in the greatest way. So it's almost like, don't give up hope and don't close yourself off to opportunities of how you might receive abundance or receive like something that you want out of life. Don't just narrow your vision to where it would come from. Like, open up and just realize you don't know what you don't know. So it's almost like just be open, because you'll learn so much more that way. And I feel like it's almost like you'll be pleasantly surprised, and it's also like to see like what, like you don't know what you don't know is actually a really great thing. Like, a lot of people would hear that and they'd be like, yeah, wow, I'm stupid, I don't know a lot, there's so much out there and I'll never know. But instead it's about like perspective, like looking at it like, wow, there are wondrous possibilities and opportunities that I am not yet aware of. And I feel like that's where they want you to place your focus, is on all of these opportunities and possibilities in your life for amazing things to happen that you're not even aware that there's even a path to them yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but it's there. So it's almost like keep the hope alive. It's there. It's just like, just understand you don't even know what you don't even know. You don't even know what's coming. Like, you don't even have like a clue of, you know what I mean? But it's in a great way. It feels like it's a really good way, a positive way. So it's almost like they would want me to like say, like, skew your perspective to kind of be, to embrace the unknown. And it's hard because like it's usually scary, you know, like the unknown. Like, let's say you've been marching to a certain beat your whole life and you always knew you were going to be a veterinarian and you always walked that path, and then you hit a phase in your life where you learned some hard lessons and it just changed you, and you're like, I think I want to join the Peace Corps. You know what I mean? Like, allow yourself to go where you are urged and to what draws you and excites you in the moment. That's why being present is so important, because that means you're present to your thoughts and any of the thoughts that might, or emotions or anything that might be veering you towards a more appropriate and relevant path for your best growth now, versus the path that you had always envisioned and had been walking up until then. So it's like, be open to change at any moment. I'm not saying like pick up and go. I'm saying be open to yourself changing. Allow yourself to change in an authentic way, in ways that feel good and right, and that you're pulled to change, if that makes sense. So this stems from here, this potential for change, like never having been able to think of a family, and now just like allowing the tiniest minuscule of a thought of a family, and it's almost overwhelming because of how closed off and numb she had been to it. So it's kind of like that. So I also feel like the phrase like baby steps is coming through as well, and to also like give yourself credit for every baby step, you know what I mean? So keep making connections here, because what's happening is there's negotiations, and I'm just trying to see how it ends here. I feel like it almost happens, but it doesn't. I feel like it's the start to possibilities in the future, and for that was part of your purpose in this life, was to open up the potential for helping future girls in your position to freedom. Just because you were the first one that they asked about to negotiate out of this role. That's a big deal. It didn't feel like it at the time, obviously, but that's a huge deal. So what we're looking at is someone who is a leader in the feminist movement in her own way. This is what the energy is. It's like your soul came in to start a new idea and concept for what it is to be one of these girls. Because essentially you're basically a slave among your own people. And you're the first one that almost got out of the slavery, if that makes sense. So you might connect with that in how you perceive women's issues today. Like if you are an activist, if you are gung-ho for feminism, if you're just like you might even be an entrepreneur. In fact, if you're not, you might want to consider entrepreneurship, because this is an energy of someone. This is entrepreneurial energy, but this is very passive here. So it could be very likely you came back into this life to not be so passive, or you might find that if you are passive in this life, it could come from this, and you need to be aware of that, and it's your chance and opportunity in this life. You came back here to actually be more expressive and to take more chances and take those risks that you never were able to do here. Basically, take advantage of as much freedom as you can given your circumstances, because here you had no chance at freedom. So just something to consider. Yeah, but this does speak to being the first of something grand and great and wonderful, a new idea. So you also might be very innovative, inventive. You might be the first in your family to do something, if you've noticed. It doesn't have to be the first to college. I mean, that's amazing, but like you could be the first to own your car, your first car before you're 25. I don't know, just like the first of something. If that's intriguing to you, if you find yourself in that role. So there's that. Or you actually might want to be the first to do something. Again, we're just talking about some innovative entrepreneurial energy. And I feel like that ties in with the creative flow we were talking about before, which will come with expression and authentic expression, if that makes sense. So there's just, I know, there's a lot. But keep making connections where you can here, and we're going to go to the death card. Here's the murder card. I'm sure you can imagine what happened, and that is what happened. So you didn't get out of your soul contract, we could say, or this role. You did end up being one of the sacrifices. And it's just, yeah, so you might not enjoy, I want to say you might not enjoy heat, humidity, fire. I don't know how you feel about blood. I just don't know if blood is like prominent in this kind of death, quite frankly. It feels more like we're looking at a little bit of burny. So yeah, so if you don't like heat, if you don't like burning, if you don't like that kind of thing, and that actually came up in another reading too, so that's interesting. So yeah, keep making connections where you can here. And let's see, even the concept of sacrifice, quite frankly, I mean, we haven't really even touched on that as a whole concept, but how do you feel about sacrifice? What is your connection with sacrifice? Do you compromise yourself for others? Are you a people pleaser? Do you sacrifice your happiness for others? Do you not give yourself self-love in order to give others love before you give yourself love? Like that kind of thing. That would be a big connection, okay? So play with the idea and the concept of sacrifice and the role it plays in your life, because it's connected to here. Now the lesson. The lesson is compromise. What we were just talking about, compromising yourself. This was a totally conditioned compromise. So it's very programmed. It's like there's no getting out of this except for that one time that you're like, oh my God, that kind of thing. But we're looking at this life where you had no control over the fact that you had to basically compromise your entire existence for your people. So in your current life, you might find in this life yeah, you might be compromising, but you have full freedom to take reign of it so that you don't have to do that anymore. Take it back. Take your power back. This is a lifetime where you do not have to compromise your freedom. You should not be compromising your freedom. If you find you are compromising your freedom, this is the time to take baby steps and be creative and get out of the box and step out of that role in order to explore the concept of freedom more. I feel like that would really suit your soul. And maybe you already know that. So keep making connections where you can with the compromise card. And anyway, there is your past life. I do want to actually mention the time. This feels just ancient times. This is just like ancient times. That's all I can tell you. This is not modern. This is not white man is in the vicinity modern at all kind of thing, okay? So, however you connect with ancient times. And yeah, so there's your past life reading. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to make some connections, and thanks for letting me read you.